Good morning, friends. Are you all awake and ready to sing? Let's do it together. This is an ambitious song. It's the first hymn in the Teal hymn book, hymn number 1000, Morning Has Come. I invite you to rise in body and our spirit, and let's sing this together. Morning has come, all rise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey on. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey on. Open your eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts and welcome it among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey on. You did it. Thank you.
Well, good morning to you as well. Welcome. My name is Kevin Johnson. And you know it's Mother's Day. And this morning I woke up with a spirit in my heart. And this is not in the script and it's not in the book. It comes from me. And it was my mother. I lost her 4 years ago. And I must admit, the first 2 years it was grief. And then, from then on, it became a warm embrace inside my heart. Because I know she's there. She, when I was a child, was my caretaker. When I was a young kid, she was my teacher. When I became a teenager, I must admit, she just was annoying because she tried to stick her nose in all of my business. That's true, and you teenagers can attest to that. When I became a young adult, she became an advisor. When I got married and had children, she became my book of wisdom. She was a wonderful person, and she's with me here today. Well, welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Kevin Johnson. I use he, him pronouns. I am a 6-foot African-American male wearing my glasses, gray hair, what's left of it, and I have a gray mustache, and today I donned my green vest. Leading worship with me today is Reverend Mary Sara Lewis, the Director of Community Development. What did he say? And Troy Fisher, our director, our music director. Our community envisioned an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out our mission to welcome and wonder embrace, empower, and bridge, and become. Thank you for joining us today. We are so glad you are here. You are welcome here just as you are, whatever belief sustains you, whomever you love, however you understand and express your identity. And in all ways, you are still becoming the person you will be. There are a few things you should know about our service today so you can feel welcome. We are streaming live on Zoom and YouTube, and the services will be recorded. For those here in the sanctuary, you can see the sometimes creative subtitles on the screen up here. And on Zoom for those who are online. Over here we have soft chairs and activities for your hands and everyone, so everyone can feel comfortable. We are a multi-generational community that welcomes people of all ages in the sanctuary. There is also a nursery down the hall and a story time program for children in the classroom wing. Please be where you are most comfortable. We are grateful for many hands that helped make this worship happen this morning. I thank you, and we thank you, to all who contribute in so many ways. After service, everyone will have a chance to discuss the reflection questions by Sara. For those online, we invite you to go into the breakout room for a coffee chat. For those in person, please feel free to stay for coffee and fellowship in the commons. There is no after-service forum today. It is Mother's Day. Announcements. Folk singer Carrie Newcomer returns to OUUC next weekend. There are still a few seats available for the morning worship and evening concert Saturday, May 17th. Check out the website for your weekly update so you may buy tickets. There are so many things happening at OUUC. Check out the Tuesday electronic update or the website for the most up-to-date information. Now, let us open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. Me and my mother are with you. So it's so good to be together. I thank you.
Good morning. My name is Des McGarren. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a member of the worship arts team. I'm a white man in my mid-60s with short gray hair and glasses. And today I'm wearing a light blue sweater. Excuse me. Sure. This morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition, with the words of Cindy Fesgen. We are all capable in different ways, with various strengths and talents. We are all holy, part of the universe and the interdependent web. We light this chalice, cherishing our differences and holding each other in sacredness.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Sara. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a middle-aged white woman with dark brown curly hair, today wearing a teal dress and a purple stole. Our opening words are offered by Dawn Shea Cooley, and this is a responsive litany, so I will say a line of the reading, and then you respond in unison with the words that will be on the screen or in the chat. Because there have been times when shame has crushed our ability to be wholehearted, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. Because we have not always had the courage to be imperfect, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. Because we have struggled to have compassion for ourselves or others, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. Because we have been afraid of our own vulnerability, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. Because we are sometimes too scared to live authentically, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. Because we want to be wholehearted people, confident in our worthiness and our belonging, we let go of who we ought to be and embrace who we are. Come, let us worship together.
Let's sing together for an opening song, E.C. Barnwell's wonderful hymn, We Are. I invite you to rise in body and our spirit. It's hymn number 1051.
All right, for our story today, I have to set up a little set, so patience, please.
Do you need some help?
No, I've got it. I've got it. This is all gonna work.
You sure you don't need some help?
Yeah, no, I'm strong and independent. Okay, I think it was going to be.
Sarah, I could help. Troy's playing the piano. I mean, I got a spare hand.
No thanks.
Are you sure?
I should be able to do this. I should.
Okay, all right.
You sure you don't need some help?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm all good.
Because I can play the piano and help.
Sarah, Reverend, you need help?
No, I'm good. Thanks. You know what? Help would have been good. Thus ends our story.
My mother and I are back. She's going to be here all day with me, so I'm speaking for both of us. Each Sunday we engage in a spiritual practice of generosity and a gratitude by joining together in service of our community and something greater than ourselves. We each have the power to share, and when we can combine our gifts to create an offering together, we are able to do more than any one of us can do alone. We also express our gratitude for the gifts that life has given us, for the network of relationships in which we live, and for the presence in this community. If you are new or visiting with us for the first time or second time, you are our guest, and we do not expect you to contribute. However, if you are moved to be a part of our offering, what you share will be most gratefully received. The offering collected here goes to two things. It helps support the ongoing work of the congregation, which is also supported by our regular pledges. And this offering supports an organization that serves our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values. Now I'm going to have to read some numbers, so I'm going to slow down a little bit because I have a whole bunch of numbers in here and I want to get it right. In March and April, this congregation collected a total of $8,709.57 in our offering. Of that, $3,387 will go to the Wild Grief, an organization that supports those who are mourning by building community in the outdoors. $967 will go to the Ministers' Benevolent Fund to help those at OUUC in need, and $4,354 will help support OUUC's operating costs. Thank you for your generosity. Our Share the Plate organization for May and June is the Multicultural Service Center in South Sound. The center connects the newcomers from around the world, primarily refugees who have fled violent, repressive regimes in their home countries. The center helps meet the underaddressed and underserved needs of these refugees. And other immigrants, such as their English language learner program. By nurturing their abilities to understand the Multicultural Center, of South Sound helps the newest residents contribute their gifts to the community as workers, neighbors, parents, students, and future leaders. May the offering now be generously given as it is so gratefully received.
Thank you for your generosity in all the ways that you share your gifts. This morning, we do what humans have done for all of our existence. We gather in times of worry and anxiety and in times of celebration and joy. We come into our community bringing all that is on our minds and in our hearts. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of life as we place stones in the water of community. You will hear a drum beat. Allow its resonance into your body. It is the heartbeat of life, the heartbeat of community. Right now, I invite you to take a deep breath. Feel the air in your body. Feel the earth beneath us. Feel the warmth of connection. Today is Mother's Day, a day for honoring mothers, and a day that brings many complicated feelings for many of us. Love, loss, regret, longing, grief, and more. We place a stone in the water in honor of all of these feelings and for all who mother in all the ways. And now let's open our circle wide. For those on Zoom, we invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat. Those in the sanctuary can see your sharing on the screen, and it's shared with Reverend Mary and the pastoral care team. And for those in person today, we invite you to come forward if there is something that you would like to bring into this community. You may place a stone in the water as you hold your sharing in your heart. Let's hear the heartbeat of our community and reach out our hearts in love and care to all those who share. We place a stone in the water for all that has been shared online, shared from the heart. And one more stone in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken. We hold together all that has been shared. May you feel yourself witnessed. May you know yourself beloved. And now I invite you to be in whatever way is most comfortable for you for prayerful meditation. I invite you to just breathe as we hold a moment of compassion for ourselves. Breathe in and out, and notice yourself as you are right now. Whatever feelings you have, whatever state of being you are in, hold compassion for this person that you are right now. Hold love for this person that you are right now, just as you are. And let us hold that feeling of compassion as we breathe in silence together for a minute.
I invite you to remain seated and let's sing together hymn number 313.
Our first reading is from Lean on Me, A Politics of Radical Care by Lynn Segal. In one of the more recent feminist critiques of the Kantian tradition, the Italian philosopher and feminist thinker Adriana Cavarero describes the model of the self in play here as that of homo erectus, upright manhood. Women, with their supposedly softer, more caring inclinations, are always a threat to these men's principled autonomy and independence, stoking their fear of any return to what they see as childhood states of dependency and submission. Being overwhelmingly male, philosophers historically have viewed any such need for others with a certain apprehension, acknowledging any need for others, Cavarero observes, undermines men's egocentric verticality. And if women were generally viewed as the dangerous sex, it was mothers in particular who personified the original or primal threat to mature manhood. Descending from philosophical abstraction to the highly concrete, Cavarero also comments, Kant did not love mothers, children, or nannies. Unlike most male philosophers, he was an unrepentant bachelor, easily bothered by crying children.
So when I was a harried young mom, trying to get through grad school while solo parenting an infant, I developed really bad elbow pain. I went to the doctor and was diagnosed with nurse's elbow from the strain of carrying my child on my arm all the time, and was advised by the doctor to, quote, just stop picking up the baby. That was going to work. Shortly after that, feeling rather helpless and hopeless and watching nature documentaries in the middle of the night while breastfeeding my baby, as one does, I saw something about a group of baboons running from danger, and the narrator said something like, in a very British accent, "It is very difficult for the mother baboons carrying the babies to keep up with the group." I screamed in frustration, or at least internally screamed, since actually screaming would have upset the baby. But no kidding, it's pretty hard to keep up with the group. Parenting is a deep dive into vulnerability, with added personal physical vulnerability for the parent who does pregnancy, childbirth, or breastfeeding. But all who dedicate themselves to caring for these tiny, helpless humans become closer to vulnerability themselves. As Dr. Emma Svanberg writes in Parenting for Humans, quote, "We talk about what's at stake with the implication that it's all on our shoulders, and usually a mother's shoulders. But somehow we don't really talk about how becoming a parent turns us inside out, leaves us raw and shattered, all while we have to function as well as we can for a very vulnerable human being." End quote. Now, children and parents aren't the only types of humans facing vulnerability. As we age and enter elderhood, we become more vulnerable. Each time we are sick, we experience perhaps temporary vulnerability. Disability and chronic illness bring another kind of vulnerability. Vulnerability is a universal human experience, something that we move into, sometimes out of, and then maybe back into throughout our lifetimes, but we will never escape it completely. We will need help and care sometimes. This is at odds with the prevailing story that we live by in Western culture, the story of the individual. It is a story that has been told over and over again, whether by a philosopher, a capitalist, a religion, or a Western movie. the story of the individual overcoming challenge through the strength of their own character and effort and achieving independence. These characters are most often male, but not always. Sometimes the stories are about groups or a team, but even then, the stories are often more about being collectively badass and less about caring for one another's vulnerabilities. This story of individualism and competition and contribution leaves little room for any of us to be vulnerable or to need care, and it places very little value on providing care either. It's a convenient story for those in power, pushing humans to become labor and resource rather than community. Living under the influence of these stories, most of us avoid vulnerability. Vulnerability is scary. Vulnerability is, even in others, is often frightening or uncomfortable because we don't want to think about vulnerability at all. We want to believe in overcoming vulnerability, in the heroic journey and the strong vitality that will never crack or fade. So we may avoid looking too closely at what makes us all vulnerable, at examples of vulnerable people, and at our own particular vulnerabilities. This was definitely true for me. I grew up in a family culture, a dance culture, and later a military culture that all emphasized fighting through pain and weakness. For me, the show must go on, never drop out, never fall back, and you can sleep when you're dead became a big part of the interior narrative that told me that I could never take a sick day, never need to rest, I could never need help. And then I would get sick, or I couldn't make my body do the thing it was supposed to do, or I was tired. And it was terrifying because the story I knew meant that I was useless and would be cut from the show, the team, or the group. I've had to work hard to overcome this internalized idea. I'm still not all the way there. Sometimes, I don't take the help I should. Part of what has helped me do this work is a greater understanding of how we develop these internalized ideas and identities. The understanding that I have now is an amalgamation of several models. So what I'm going to share with you is partly Buddhist teaching, partly constructivist learning theory, partly Jungian psychology, partly trauma-informed neuroscience, and partly just me. So let me explain this. We start with an experience, just the raw thing, whether it's a sight, a sound, a sensation. And the next step happens really quickly in the reactionary parts of our brain bodies. And we respond in some way that will be mediated by our nervous system and how well regulated it is. Next, our conscious thinking brain will give this experience and reaction a name or a label. I'm in pain, or this tastes good. Now, even though all of this happens pretty quickly, there are still filters in place that are built by our past experiences and our current state and our overall temperament. So our label of the experience is already subjective. And then we pass this label through the stories that we have about it. Stories about where pain comes from, who deserves to feel pain, etc., will shape our experiences of pain. Stories about who deserves pleasure, where pleasure comes from, the dangers of pleasure, etc., will shape our experience of pleasure. Stories about God or the universe will shape our experiences of wonder and awe. Most often, though, we aren't really conscious of the stories that we carry. We don't think about them much. They just are. So this filter is another one that often goes unnoticed. Next, we come to the step that more of us are aware of, the conscious analysis, creating beliefs and explanations for the experience that we've had. This is where we pause and really think about the experience in a way that we are most used to understanding, thinking. Then, most of us will seek some confirmation or feedback about the explanation that we just formed. We might try to do the thing again, see if the same result occurs, or look around us to see if others are reacting in the same way, or we might talk about our experience with another person. We'll also look for feedback on whether our reaction is going to be accepted and responded to in a way that we like. If we cry, for instance, does someone comfort us, or do they say, "Don't be a baby"? And here's the kicker. The feedback that we receive in our confirmation checks is also filtered through stories that we carry. These are stories about our own role in the world, stories about who can be trusted and who cannot, stories about whether the universe is orderly or chaotic, and more. We may not realize that we are carrying these stories, but they will also be filters for all of our understandings. And having passed through all of this process, this experience may now become internalized as part of our ongoing sense of ourself or our ideas and understandings about how the world works. And that sense of our identity and understanding of how things work then changes all of those filters for the next experience. This can become a self-fulfilling negative spiral. Or it can also be a learning and growing spiral. And we can become more aware of this cycle and pause and observe it, which helps us choose. As the popular quote by psychologist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl goes, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." But what does any of this have to do with vulnerability and all the rest that I was talking about before? Here's an example. So I grew up with that story about needing to be strong and carry on. And I was born with an anxious temperament and an overreactive fight or flight response. So I would have an experience of illness, get anxious and ready to fight, label my experience as weakness, pass it through a story about weakness, meaning rejection, build a belief system like no pain, no gain, look around to see if others approved of me if I pushed harder, pass their reactions through my story about my own insecurity, and then internalize the whole thing as an identity of being not quite good enough. Or I could become aware of these cycles and stories through lots of internal work, spiritual practice, life experience, therapy, etc., and I could start to shift the cycle bit by bit. Being more aware, I could place an emphasis on supporting and regulating my nervous system and trying to lower that fight or flight response. And then when I have an experience of illness or pain, even if I get anxious, even if I still knee-jerk label the experience as weakness, I can shift the story about what weakness is. I can tell a new story to myself about how hard experiences build compassion and understanding, or about how bodies being bodies is just a value-neutral thing. I can deliberately pause before rushing to explanations and beliefs about this experience. I can choose how I seek feedback and who I seek it from. And I can tell new stories about my place in the universe and my worth in comparison to others. Sounds super simple, doesn't it? It's not. This is a lot of work. It's a long process. It may be a process of meditation, journaling, therapy, creative expression, medication, or more. The tools are numerous and your mileage may vary. And it's a slow process. But bit by bit, when we do this, we can grow more capacity for holding hard experiences without internalizing them into our beings. We can be more open and vulnerable from a place of wholeness. We may label that place non-attachment, security, boundaried strength, wisdom, or something else. Whatever the story or label that works for you, may it help you be whole and human in all the vulnerable ways that we are.
Sometimes the vulnerability can be the greatest strength that you can possess. Our second reading is the meditation of courage and vulnerability by Douglas Taylor. I am learning to let down my guard. We all know about the deep instinct to respond to difficult and stress with either fight or flight, with force or swift retreat, with decisive attack or prompt withdrawal. When faced with stress or difficulty or challenge, I am learning to let down my guard. I'm learning to be vulnerable. I am seeking the courage to be open. I would have my vulnerability be a choice made by my courage rather than my fear. I would have my vulnerability be my strength. May my strength be not found in a hard shell of defense or a sharp weapon of attack. May my strength instead be found in an open stance of kindness and empathy, like a tree bending gracefully in a windstorm. May my strength be found in the willingness to join in the suffering of others, like a forest of trees standing together in the storm. May I choose to be receptive rather than protected, sharing rather than be shielding. In this way, I face my own suffering, and in the suffering of others with nimble capacity to respond with compassion. In this way, my vulnerability be an invitation for others to meet me in the open field with the yearning for understanding and peace. I know that this is a risk. I know I may be hurt. I know things may just not go well. But still, I seek the courage to set aside the closed fist, the stinging retort, the barbed judgment of others. I will seek within myself the strength to stand exposed and unguarded before the world, in the wind, open to difficulty, not because I cannot be any other way, but because I have chosen this as a better way. I am still learning to be vulnerable. I seek the courage to be vulnerable. May I have others who can help me be so courageous. May my example serve others as well as myself. And may my strength be your strength in sharing this life openly with others. Thank you.
So part 2, mutual care. One of my favorite sayings, a quote from Karl Marx that he took from the Bible, is, "From each as they are able, to each as they require." I've tried to live my life by this principle, giving all that I am able and looking to see what others require. And then a couple years back, a therapist called me out on this when she pointed out that I was only paying attention to half of the philosophy. I was only casting myself in the as they are able role and never in the as they require. I was acting as though I had no needs of my own. And then I was getting burned out or angry when I ended up experiencing unmet needs. I'm not alone in this tendency. Sociologist and author Brené Brown has written and spoken extensively about how a common response to the anxiety of the world is to perform in vulnerability. It's performative. It's a performance. Because it's never really true and no one can be completely invulnerable. But acting as though we are feels protective. Unfortunately, this is one of those counterproductive strategies that may feel protective in the short term, but ultimately hurts everyone, as we end up having to ignore our own needs and stuff down our own feelings, and it hurts our ability to be in true relationship with each other. It also feeds our culture of burnout, as we all try to push through heroically on our own. And how do we tend to respond to the chronic state of burnout, especially for those who are giving care? We tell everyone that they need to do more self-care. And how do we define self-care? What comes to mind for you? Bubble baths, vacations, getting up early to go to the gym. Too often, we define self-care as a method for recharging our batteries, preferably as quickly as possible, so that we can go back to being productive. Therapist and author Pujma Lakshman puts it this way in the book Real Self-Care. Quote, "Faux self-care is a method. In the moment, going for a run might improve your mood, but it does nothing to change the circumstances in your life that led you to feel drained, energyless, or down. On the other hand, the work of real self-care is about going deeper and identifying the core principles to guide decision-making. When you apply these principles to your life, you don't just feel relief in the moment. You design a system of living that prevents the problems from coming up in the first place." End quote. A big stumbling block for doing that deeper work of real self-care is acknowledging our own limits and needs. Real self-care looks a lot like knowing when to say no, knowing when to say, "I need help," and knowing how to give yourself more compassion when you are struggling. If we are practicing real self-care, which means real self-knowledge and vulnerability, then we can return to the "from each as they are able to each as they require" with a healthier sense of mutual care. In mutual care, we are all going to sometimes be able to provide care for others. And we are all going to sometimes require receiving care from others. When we are struggling, like I was in our story skit today, we can accept help. And when we see someone in need, we can provide the help. For some peoples, mutual aid has been the way of resilience and survival for generations as they faced systemic oppression. And some of our American subcultures are better at this than others. But in the overall dominant American culture, we are not good at mutual care, and many of us lack practice in it. So here are some extremely practical suggestions if you want to get better at mutual care. First, practice pausing before you give automatic responses to people. How are you? Oh, fine. Do you need help? Oh, no, thank you. Those well-worn patterns may just roll off your tongue without much thought. So pause thoughtfully when someone asks you how you are. If it feels right to give an honest and true answer, be real. Pause thoughtfully when someone asks if you need help. And if you could use some help and it feels right, be honest in your answer. Second suggestion, let's get better at offering real, concrete, and specific care and help. A blanket, do you need anything, may be hard for a person in distress to figure out how to respond to. But would it help if I carried that for you? Or I have an extra cart, would you like to borrow it for a while? Are much easier questions to answer. If someone is sick or grieving or stressed out, you could offer to do their laundry or bring them their groceries or walk their dog. So many specific things. Third suggestion, try to lay down the whole idea of being a burden. People are not burdens. In other words, let's try not to feel guilty for needing or accepting care and help. Let's be grateful, sure, but not guilty. Appreciate the care and the caregiver, and also know that it is a blessing to be in relationships of care, a blessing for both of you. Fourth suggestion, accept that people have different priorities and that the exact kind of care and help that you think they need may not be what they want. Often we offer to do something or help because something is bugging us. If I offer to help my kiddo by getting their car washed, is it because the dirty car is bothering me, or is it genuinely a help for them? They might need and want a completely different kind of help, and I need to listen and respect that. People need to retain their empowerment to choose what they want, even as they are helped. But even mutual care isn't going to be enough, relying as it does on loose networks of relationship. We need to have a culture of community care, and that is exactly what is being eroded in this current political moment, although the process of dismantling social safety nets and public goods started long before the last election. A culture of community care is one in which we say they are all my kids, and we fund childcare, nutrition, education, and other needs of children as though we meant that. In 2023, 1 in 7 children in the US lived in poverty, and we are seeing cuts to programs that provide care for children. A culture of community care would be one that prioritized health care for all, housing for all, affordable food for all, and we know what is happening to those programs right now, too. A culture of community care would prioritize public transportation over private vehicle ownership, would prioritize access and disability justice, and I could go on and on. But the bottom line is that a culture of true community care would be one that acknowledged that we are all vulnerable and will all need care, and we should build a society that does that. So here's your homework assignment. You didn't know you were going to get homework today, but you are. Good news is there's no deadline, no time that you have to turn this in, and I won't be grading anyone. This is 4 parts. First, Examine your comfort level with vulnerability and try to build some courage around being vulnerable. Second, give yourself some real self-care and compassion rather than pushing yourself to do it all alone. Third, increase your skills and habits around offering and receiving mutual care. Let someone help you and help someone else. Fourth, show up and fight for those structures and that culture of community care. Even if some of us will survive an austerity culture of individualism, that is not enough. We have to all survive. We should all thrive. Nothing less is acceptable when all are inherently worthy and loved. So call your legislators, show up at those protests, and ceaselessly advocate for the idea that we are all connected and responsible for caring for all of us. All of us. And that's your homework. Easy peasy, right? No, but it is a vital assignment. As you tackle it, I offer you this blessing. May you know yourself whole, holy, and loved, just as you are. May you have the courage to ask for and receive help and care when you need it. May you be filled with love and care for others, and may your head, hands, and heart know the work that is yours to do. May you know yourself as related to all others through vast networks of love and care. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Let's hold a moment of silence together.
I invite you to rise in body and our spirit, and let's sing hymn number 301, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky. We extinguish our chalice with the words of Carrie Hawley Hurt. Love holds you. Love bears witness to all your inherent dignity and worthiness. It witnesses how you try, succeed, and fail, and it does not flinch. Love will not let go. Love holds all of you. May you go with joy, go with commitment, and go with love.